Hi, Mark Hambrook here. Today's Friday, August 30th. I've talked to a number of people this past week, and one of the questions I have is the salmon pools open or not? And the answer is yes. We've had some very cool evenings, and even though the days warm up, it's been cool enough at night to keep the water temperatures reasonable. So there has been no restrictions, and there's no restrictions in place right now for fishing. And also talking to people is that the water is so low, it's dangerously low. But wherever the salmon are, the temperatures are okay. People are actually catching fish. So angling isn't bad if there's fish there to be angled for. Not many fish moving though, and water's too low. So yesterday we got about 1.5 inches of rain throughout the watershed, and which is much needed. That will bring it up a little bit. We may actually have some fish moving from pool to pool now, but today is supposed to be sunny and warm, and it's going to be dry for the next little while. So there's not going to be a lot of fish movement, but if you're there, you might actually get fish going between pools, so it might be a good weekend to go fishing. The big issue this week has been the smallmouth bass that we found in the southwest Miramichi, up and below the outlet of Miramichi Lake, where we know invasive smallmouth bass are. And when we keep talking about the bass here, it's not striped bass. Striped bass are native to the Miramichi. They're more anadromous. They go in the salt water and move in, but the smallmouth bass are freshwater, and they were illegally introduced to the Miramichi through Miramichi Lake, where containment is trying to keep them from escaping from that lake for the past 11 years. So we had a conference call on Monday to mount an effort to investigate the smallmouth bass. The provincial government, federal government through DFO, the Kodam group from First Nations, certainly the MSA, ASF, have put active participants out to try to assess the smallmouth bass, if there are any there or not. So, so people have been snorkeling different pools. They've been taking eDNA samples to see if there's a DNA signal of bass present. And a lot of sampling has taken place this week. Nobody snorkeling has found any more, because the one that was discovered was taken, a video and pictures were taken of it in a pool. So we went to that pool on Wednesday, and it was a group from DFO and MSA and Kodam. And these pools are very, very hard to catch fish in because they're boulder strewn. I mean, if you're trying to do a beach seine, which we typically do to catch a broodstock, you almost have to get into a gravel pool where you have no obstructions and you can corral the fish to a shore. Well, this is not the case there. It's huge boulders, broken rocks, hard even to walk in the river. So the technique that we use is a fyke net, which is a net that has hoops in it, and if when you go into it, you go through a narrow opening and then into a bigger spot and into another narrow opening. So once you go in through one of those narrow openings, you can't find your way back in. So what we did is, at the lower end of this so-called pool, we installed that with leaders going to shore, and so we set it up so that the idea is we'd scare fish from the pool down into this trap. And that's where apparently the smallmouth bass was first angled and then observed. So we put our scare net in, which is a smaller mesh net with a big chain on the bottom. It's heavy, and we just move it down slowly and make as much noise as we can to scare the fish down into the trap. Worked pretty good, and as you get closer and closer to the trap, some fish try to escape, and they try to go under the net and whatever, and a few do escape. But when we completed it, lo and behold, 41 grouse and 4 large salmon in in that fight trap, and greater than 250 suckers, but no other fish. We released them below the fight net, so we said, let's try the second time. The second time we got 1 grouse and roughly 40 suckers. So we were pretty confident that we got a good sampling out of that pool, but no smallmouth bass. And that bass might have moved just up at the upper end of the pool or behind a big rock. I'm not sure. It was inconclusive, and all the other snorkeling and work to date has not produced any more presence of smallmouth bass. So it may be 1 fish, it may be more, but work is continuing. This rain that we had yesterday kind of slowed activities because there were supposed to be people there every day this week trying different things. But anyway, our mission continues to try to assess the extent of the spread of smallmouth bass and just to verify what exactly is going on. A lot of people involved in this assessment. And I want to thank all those different organizations and government agencies for helping in this issue. Other than that, things are pretty quiet. We have our electrofishing crew is with Fisheries and Oceans, and they do a group of sites. There's about 70 sites that have been done since 1971. And so they go back every year and find out how many fry and salmon fry and parr and other species that are in those areas. And that goes into a long-term data set to monitor the distribution and sort of relative strength of our juvenile salmon population in the river. So they'll be working until the end of September, doing that every day and covering the whole watershed. Other than that, days are getting shorter, the nights are getting longer, water is cooling down. September will soon be here. Next week we should have an updated count on the number of salmon in through the trap nets, although speaking with DFO this morning, it's been so low there's no fish moving, so I don't think the counts are going to change much from 2 weeks previous. And but anyway, there should be some decent angling this weekend, so get out on the river.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on that notification bell so you can stay up to date with everything happening here at the MSA.